Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. This is the 2023, or it could be the 2024 Honda Pilot for that matter, because there are no changes for 24. But in the interest of fair reporting, this particular model is a 23. It's the EXL. It has a sticker price of $49,324. And today we're at Holmes Honda to answer the question, do you get the right features for that price? And there are some things that have been dealer added. I'm going to show you exactly what those are. That's why the price is where it is. They add a few features, add a few options. That brings the price up a little bit in case you are wondering. And this is at Holmes Honda here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know that every Honda dealership across the country, at least here in the United States, does something like that. But in case you are curious, that's the situation here. On this EXL trim level, we're going to have radiant red as the exterior color, black interior, and plentiful space within the interior. Not only 3 rows for driver and passengers, but also plentiful space within the interior for cargo capacity. And one thing that I know a lot of people are going to like is what you have right there. Peace of mind, a spare tire. No tire repair kits on the Honda Pilot. And before we dive too deep into this Pilot, let's talk about those additional features that have been added here, options, whatever you want to call them. Number one, we have Auto Butler. In simplest terminology, it's paint protection. So there you go. It's going to help to keep the paint looking nice, protected, looking new for several years to come. Also, window tint. And because I know a lot of you like to know about the percentages I'm about to give, for those who may not know, are the percentages of light that the window tint allows through the windows. So, on the front windows here, on these front doors, 40%. We're going to be looking at 25% here on the rear doors and the rear window right here on the side. And on this back window, we're looking at 12%. So 40, 25, and 12% will be your numbers. And depending on trim level, most trim levels of the Pilot will come standard with front wheel drive. Unless you get the Elite or the Trail Sport, those come standard with all-wheel drive, but all-wheel drive is optional on all other trim levels outside of those two. Here on the front end, we're going to have LED daytime running lights and LED fog lights. And I always like to say this because people ask a lot of the time, how do you make things flicker as you see right there? Well, you don't. That actually has to do with the shutter speed of my GoPro. It's a common issue with GoPros and a lot of the cameras people film with here on YouTube. That way you know the situation. And obviously a full redesign for 2023, more squared off, a little bit more length, a little bit more width, and more interior space. And this particular model is all-wheel drive. Let's talk about our tire and wheel size. 255 will be the width. You're going to have a 60 series sidewall wrapped around the 18-inch wheels. So when you see that number on the side of the tire, you now know what that means. And here is the remote, a very nice remote, very light, sturdy. It gets the job done. It does have the remote start feature. It is a proximity key. You obviously have the walk away feature here. And then we'll move on to our power adjustable heated side view mirrors. They are manually folding, but you also have the turn signal indicators built in right there. And a very nice look overall with the exterior. Do you like this particular design beyond what we saw with the previous generation? A little larger, a little more squared off, but not completely. It isn't exactly the aerodynamic shape of a brick, but it's not as, well, we'll say rounded as it used to be. Body color on the shark fin antenna. We'll have the rear roof spoiler to finish things off here. Obviously, the rear window wiper, very helpful. And yes, I wasn't kidding when I told you it was all-wheel drive. There's the logo to prove that. And we'll finish things off with the nice Pilot logo there in the center. You have a nice balance here on the exterior of a combination of gloss black and chrome. And how about safety features? Well, you're going to have Honda sensing, adaptive cruise control, road departure mitigation braking, lane keeping assist, traffic jam assist. All of that is here. And yes, this model does come with blind spot monitoring, as you can see right there. Always a feature I know a lot of you like to have, especially at this price point. Well, you'd expect it to be here. And motivation to get this Pilot down the road, no matter where you go, or maybe off-road to a degree. It does have light off-roading capabilities, but it can get there, especially with all-wheel drive. If you have a real steep driveway at your house and you live in the mountains or something like that, well, this will be helpful, especially during the winter when it snows, depending on where you live. This is the dual overhead cam version of the 3.5-liter V6. More efficient, I think, a little more responsive than the VTEC that was in the previous generation of the Pilot. The horsepower only increases by 5 from 280 up to 285. The torque numbers remain the same at 262 pounds-feet. And gone is the 9-speed automatic transmission in favor of a 10-speed automatic transmission that is specifically tuned for this Pilot. And let's take a quick look at those all-important MPGs. Let's see what we have here if I can see it without the glare. 19 city, 25 highway, 21 combined, and 4.8 gallons of gas is what Honda says you should use per every 100 miles driven. You do have capless fuel fill, and when you use that feature, you're going to be filling an 18.5 gallon gas tank. And depending on if you go with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive will determine what you can tow with your Pilot. Front-wheel drive, 3,500 pounds. All-wheel drive will take it up to 5,000 pounds. And cargo space ranges between 18.6 to 86.5 to 87 cubic feet. I do have everything set up here where you can see the seats in their upright position, but because I know a lot of you ask for this, I'm also going to show you how everything looks maximized. I'm proving that I'm reading your comments because a lot of you have said, don't just lower one side, show us everything. So there you go. And you do have a few additional features that I didn't mention earlier with the added price for this Pilot, and that includes the cargo tray, all-season floor mats. You will also find wheel locks, and I'll show you what that is in just a second, but here are your all-season floor mats right there. Now you do have the carpet inserts if you want to use those. That's going to be right here. And real quick, underneath the floor, let's see if we can get this out of the way. We'll show you what's going on there. You have the dual-sided floor, in fact, so you can actually flip this floor over, and you can also use this area for a number of things. You can put whatever you want to down there, obviously, and keep it nice and safe. And since you have that spare tire that I showed you earlier, if you ever need to change a tire, notice that you have 4 lug nuts here that are the same, but you also have this one right here that looks different. That's the wheel lock. And you'll look into the interior to find your wheel lock key. Let me show you where you can find that and what exactly that looks like. So it's going to be in this bag. Most likely it will be in the glove box that we're looking into right now that has plentiful space. And now let's see if I can get that out of there. And there is your wheel lock key. So what's going to happen is you're going to insert this into the lug wrench, and then it just goes on to the wheel lock right there, locks in place, and you can remove the wheel lock. And the good news about this, these are not generic. They are cut specifically for your vehicle here at the dealership. So that means that somebody can't go on to Amazon or eBay and buy one of these and then come and steal your wheels anyway. And your middle row passengers will find the privacy shades here. They can put in place or remove manually depending on what they want. A nice comfortable armrest right here. That's the best way to test that, is to put your arm up there. Don't do this because, well, that doesn't really tell you much. Put your arm up there because that's what you're going to be using it for. At least your passengers will. And the contrast stitching here, it would be nice to see some contrast stitching that maybe matches the exterior color of the vehicle or something along those lines just to set it apart. And a lot of storage spaces here throughout the interior. Different options. The upper and the lower door bins here. Cup holders right here. A couple of different options, or bottle holders, whichever you want to call that. And here with the middle row seats, you'll notice that over there on the left side of the driver's side, That one's all the way up. Maybe an unrealistic place, but you can at least see the difference between what you can do as far as your passengers go to give third row passengers extra leg room. And rear seat passengers can jump in from the driver's side over there or over here on the passenger side. I've had some of you say that nobody ever shows this, so I'm going to make sure that I'm the person that does, and then we'll hop on in to the rear seating area. Now, you'll notice I do have a decent amount of leg space here. Probably good for cruising around town if I sat in the third row. Maybe not for a long road trip, but it does help to have the space here with the pass-through. That's a good thing. Now, you could sit over here and greatly increase leg space. That's for sure. Like I said, a little unrealistic, but there's the amount that could potentially be gained. And then these seats do recline, as do all the seats here in the interior, but you can see the difference between the left side and the right side. And then we're going to have the air conditioning vents, 2 more cup holders or bottle holders, and a USB port back here as well. These are tie-down points that can be used for cargo when there's nobody sitting back here. And obviously everything is mirrored over here on the left side of the driver's side. Now, there is not a sunroof here, but you can opt for the panoramic sunroof. That's what's available for 2023 and 2024. So for those of you who say, if I'm going to have a sunroof, I want the panoramic, not the conventional size, well, that should give you a thumbs up as far as your potential options for the Pilot. And now we'll move into the center row. You have the rear seat pockets here. There's another pocket right there that's perfect for a cell phone, and dual air conditioning vents here for middle row passengers. Obviously, the command center here for controlling the third zone of the tri-zone climate control. And then we're going to have our dual USB ports here. So quite a bit of space and a lot of options for a lot of different things. And as we move over to the front seat area, I pretty much already showed you a lot of what's here. You saw the glove box. You do have power adjustable seats for the driver and the passenger. A nice look. And then we're going to have a little bit of extra space right up here. Maybe cell phones can go there. For those of you who are old school and read books that you actually hold in your hand, well, maybe that could go there too when you're taking a break. More connectivity options. There's a USB, or excuse me, the 12 volt here and the 2 USB right there. A little bit of space there. You'd have to have an awfully small cell phone to fit in there, but I guess it could be done depending on the size. And a wireless charging pad. And the thing that has no neutral ground, people love it or they hate it, the push button shifter. Which person are you? I'm curious to know. And the cup holders, well, those are as generic as you can get. Everybody likes their cup holders, right? Or you can call them bottle holders, whichever you want to. And we have our power parking brake hold mode. You can select your drive mode there, hill start assist, and you can turn off the auto stop start feature, or what Honda calls idle stop. And with the center console larger than it was with the previous generation, sitting up nice and high, it's nice and wide, and you can adjust the height of these power adjustable seats to compensate depending on what you need with your height. So, plenty of space within there, a nice large center console, and then up here we're going to have the sunglass holder, and there is that conversation mirror that a lot of you like to have, because you can give your rear seat passengers the angry eyes, or if they're being good, you can give them the kind eyes, and that isn't just limited to the kids. It can also apply to the adults. All right, we'll take a look into the driver's compartment here and take a look at the fact that, well, obviously you have all of the things you would expect to find here. Now, you do have seat memory here on the driver's side. Honestly, at this price point, at least in my personal opinion, that means you should also have it over there on the driver passenger side. Tell me what you think about that. As I said earlier, power seat for the driver and the passenger. So you've got the driver's seat here that's fully adjustable. You can turn traction control on and off and control that power rear door back there, the tailgate, or lift gate, I should say. And you can drop the lever right here to control the positioning of this tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel. And we'll hit our push button start here and get the steering wheel up and out of the way. That is going to be helpful to show you the nice digital instrument cluster here. As far as its look. A very nice modern look. You can see who's wearing their seatbelt and who is not. And then you can push this home button right here on the left-hand side with your steering wheel mounted controls. You can go through a few different features, and then you can go to the scroll wheel right here and work your way through even more features. And all you do is push on that scroll wheel when you get to something you want to select, such as what we have right here. And then when you want to get out of that, you can just hit the home button again, and you're back at this particular screen. So it's pretty easy to deal with. A very nice look to this instrument cluster. Then you're going to have the controls here for the headlights, for the fog lights, and for the turn signals. Some of you are saying, what are you talking about? Turn signals, what are those? Some people call them blinkers, and you're still confused. You're the people on the road who don't use them because you don't know what that lever is for. Okay, it's okay to laugh. Yes, I'm making fun of you bad drivers out there. I can't do anything like that with this lever because it controls the front and rear window wipers, and people tend to use that for some reason. Oh well. It's okay to laugh in these videos, especially if you made it to this point. Thank you, by the way. Now, here is the 9-inch touchscreen, 90-degree angle, reduces glare, just makes it easier to deal with, easier to use in its positioning. And you're going to have, well, basically the same features and functionality of the previous generation, just a different look. So it's very simple to use, very easy to find whatever you need to adjust with the vehicle. As you can see right here, the nice graphics from Honda as far as that goes. We can hit our back button, and we can go to general settings. That looks somewhat familiar, doesn't it, as far as the previous generation goes? And when we go into reverse, you're going to find your multi-view rear view camera, very responsive to the touch of your finger, and I like the fact that you can see where my hand is right here. That just makes it easier to position your hand to use those features. And one thing I do want to cover right here, if you're wondering, what drive modes do we have? Well, obviously we're going to start with normal. Let's go right there. I'll show you the graphics that go with that. You can see there's a lot of features, or a lot of driving modes here. We have Econ. We'll work our way to Snow next. And then Trail, Sand, make sure I show you the graphics, Tow, and that's not all there is. Sounds like an infomercial, doesn't it? Last but not least, we're going to have Sport mode. You can see what all is here. Now, I told you earlier, this model does have some light off-roading capabilities. It's not a Jeep, that's for sure, but just so you know, we talked about that earlier, especially, it's great for the snow and ice. But make sure you have all-wheel drive if that's what you're going to use. And we do have dual-zone climate control here in the front. I hinted to that earlier, talked about that earlier. And then heated seats only. No ventilated seats, but it's okay. At least right now it is, because it's not that terribly bad. It says 9:06 on the clock up there. It's not updated. It's actually 8:06 a.m. And at 8:06 a.m., it is a comfortable, as you can see right here, 84 degrees here in Northwest Louisiana. Believe it or not, that is comfortable, because we will be likely north of 100 degrees today in September of 2023. I can't wait for it to cool down. Okay, we're going to get out here for our quick test drive with the Pilot EXL. And I'll tell you what, it's a very enjoyable vehicle to drive. The ride quality is comfortable. You have plenty of space here for the driver and the passengers. And what that equates to is the fact that if you go on a long trip, you're not going to arrive worn out because the vehicle is not enjoyable to drive, because it beats you to death, any of that kind of stuff. You really have an enjoyable driving experience. And while it doesn't have sports car-like handling, it's going to handle well. The steering is nice and responsive, and you have a comfortable steering wheel here. The seats themselves, comfortable. These are obviously fully adjustable seats, so you can get everything set wherever you want for your personal desires to stay as comfortable as possible. Really a nice experience going down the road, whether it's just cruising around town or going on that long road trip. Whatever the situation is, the Pilot's going to get you there with no problem. 285 horsepower. Some might say, I wish it had more. Is that enough? For this particular vehicle, it seems to be just fine. For a midsize SUV, 285 horsepower is plenty. And that's one thing, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the engine specs, is the fact that this model is more responsive. This particular generation of engine, I should say, between that and the 10-speed automatic transmission compared to the outgoing 9-speed, you'll find that the acceleration is smoother, it takes less effort. So that's something I've noticed here that I like. And you bring all that together with the technology that this model has to offer from Honda, it looks nice, it looks modern, it has all of those modern conveniences, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, so you don't have to worry about having to use a USB cable to pair your smartphone. But the technology here is easy to learn if you've never had this kind of technology before, and it's easy to use. So a really nice balance here, and easy to see out of vehicle. You don't have to worry so much about a blind spot on your right side, even though I do still, out of habit, still look over there, even with blind spot monitoring being in this vehicle or any other vehicle that I may drive that has that particular feature. You have that as really just kind of a backup. Very nice. So overall, I definitely have to say I really like what we have here. One thing that would be interesting would be to see Honda add more Type R trim levels to more vehicles. Imagine a Pilot Type R, a high-performance Pilot. That would be interesting. I doubt we'll ever see that, but would you buy one if it was ever made available? And that's what you get for a sticker price of $49,324. Now, if you're curious, if you remove all of those features that the dealership added, you would be at a sticker price of $46,530. So depending on your market, well, it may be higher, it may be lower. Your dealership may not add the features that Holmes Honda did here, but that's what you get in this particular case. Do the features match the price? Tell me what you think down in the comments section. I'm very curious to know what you have to say. I want to say a special thanks to my friends here at Holmes Honda for loaning me this 2023 Pilot EXL for the day. If you happen to want to come in and look at this model and maybe buy it or something else that they have here at Holmes Honda, check out the link down in the description of the video, and make sure to tell whoever you work with that Tom from Vehicle Visionary sent you. I also want to say a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now. And if you haven't subscribed just yet, please do. I look forward to seeing you in my next video.